Hi there. If you want to learn how to create sound effects, then you are in the right place. In this video, I'm going to show you how I tag my sound effects with metadata. Now, if you don't know what metadata is, it's pretty simple. It's kind of like a package that you might find on a food item, like on a granola bar, let's say. You know, it'll show you a description of what it is. It'll tell you who made it. It'll tell you what's inside of it. It'll tell you maybe the expiry date, right? It's kind of similar to that. Metadata is basically information that is stored with the sound file that tells you who made it, what is the sound, what is it made of, how was it recorded, etc. Right? So it holds all this information to give you a better idea of what it is and how you could use it. Now, for my sound libraries, I use the Universal Categorization System, or the UCS for short. And what that is, it's basically a universal way to categorize sound so that people from different places around the world don't have the same sound or similar sounds or sound sources, but stored in different places or named in different ways, right? So you might have a whoosh in one place and then another whoosh that's named completely different in another place, and then your whole library is kind of like out of whack, and it's just hard to find sounds and they just don't make sense. But using the UCS, everything is standardized, everything is categorized in the same way, named the same way, so it's just a better end user experience with your sound effects. It's easier to find stuff, and yeah, it's just better overall with the user. It's a lot quicker workflow. So that's what I'll be using. So with that said, let me show you kind of my process and all the different tags and things that I do for metadata and how I embed them into my sound files. All right, so here I am inside of Reaper, and these files here are ready to be exported. So before I do, what I'd like to do is I like to rename them so they are UCS compliant as they exit out of Reaper. So what I like to do for this is I like to load NVK rename. If I'm not mistaken, this is part of NVK workflow 2. There you go. If you're interested in picking it up, I'll have links in the description below. And here, the first thing I like to go to here is the category. So for the category here, I know that mine here is leather. This is a leather jacket, so I'm just going to type leather. That it's going to show me different options that I could pick from. It is a leather impact because it's a punch, so that works great right there. So leather impact. Next, I'm just going to go down here to creator ID. This is your name or an abbreviation of your name, of your artist name. So for me, in some of my libraries, you'll see my name like this, so just my first letter of my initial and then my last name, or you can also just have it as DDA like that. Now for source ID, this is like your library name, show name, or project name, so that's what goes here. So for me, I put CF1 as an abbreviation because I'm thinking about calling this clothing foley library or something like that. So because the first one I do, I'm just going to call it CF1, right? Once I have that done, then I can go up here and start naming it. So I know this is a leather motorcycle jacket, and these are going to be punches. Right, there you go. And now if you have multiple files that are selected, like I could select these two together if I wanted to, you can add numbering so that it's jacket punches 1, then punches 2. I don't want to do that because only this one is punches, and all of my sound files are in one sausage file here, so I don't need numbering. So what I can do here, just select this, go here, and I should be able to press enter. And you can see that the name changed. The current name here changed to the name, and also you can see the name up here also changed. So if I undo it, you can see that this is the old name. Press and redo it here, press enter, and it changed back. So this is UCS compliant as a name. Now I'm ready to export this out to a folder. And let me show you quickly how I export it, because there is something that I do like to add to my files when I export them. So to export, I also use another NVK script here. This is NVK Smart Render. So here, before I render out anything, I'm going to select the file that I want here. So for this example, just this file here. And I have a script. Let me show you which one it is here that I'm going to run before I do it here. It's this one here, NVK takes, add tick markers to all variations in the selected items take. So if I do that on this item here, it's going to add variations to all of them. Now, some of them are not there, so I might have to go back and add them manually. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm not going to do that right now. But you can see all of them, or most of them, have a tick marker attached to the variation here, which is great. So now, when I export them, I'm going to export via the master. And yeah, I now can just click render. It's at the proper folder. I can just click render. It's going to export it where I want it to go. And what it's going to do, though, is if I look at my render window, so this is the regular Reaper render window. And you can see here I have tick markers, embed tick markers into the files, and I have that checked so that now when I render this out, those tick markers are going to be embedded in that file. So then when I open it into another program, another software like RX or Soundminer or somewhere else, those take markers are going to be part of the file. They're going to be visible. And it's just a lot quicker to scan or jump from take to take to take for anybody who's using those files, or for me in the future. It's easier to go from take to take, and without having to like manually drag the sounds around and drag, to find the right take. You can just do shortcuts to go from take to take, right? So this is something that's super helpful and just nice to have. So then that's how I do it. That's how you can do it as well. All right, so now that I've exported all of the sound files from my pack, I've made sure that they're all UCS compliant. So all of the file names here are UCS compliant, as you can see here. What I did is I imported them into Soundminer here. And before we go on, I know that Soundminer is quite out of the reach of a lot of people. And the point of this video is not to tell you to use Soundminer, but I do want to show you my workflow in Soundminer, because this is where I do put in all of my metadata. But you can follow along and see what I put in which field and how I do it, and apply that to whatever software that you use to do that. So that could be, Soundly or Inside of Reaper or wherever it is that you do that. So here it is. And you can see there's very basic information here. You can see the file name here is just copied into the keywords, and that's it. You have the duration, what kind of file it is, sample rate, bit rate, right? So stuff that they can pick, that Soundminer can obviously just automatically pick up from the audio file, but there's not much more than that in here. So the first thing I like to do here is I'm going to select all of my sound files here from this project. And what you can do inside of Soundminer is they have something called workflows. And in here, they're basically just actions that you're going to do, or processing that you're going to apply to your sound. So basically, obviously, I'm going to be applying metadata to my sound. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I want to extract the category ID from the sound file name. So what that means is that if I look here, you can see here the category full, and cat ID. These are all for the UCS category system. And you can get all of that just by looking at the sound file here. So cloth and FLP, so flap. You can tell, or you can know that the category is going to be cloth, and then it's going to be able to basically extract everything from there. So if I do it here, let me just show you so it makes a bit more sense here. I'm going to run it on everything. There you go. So you can see it's cloth. The category full is called cloth flap, which obviously you can tell from the file name. And then the cat ID is the same as the file name here, cloth FLP, right? So it's just filling out these categories here automatically. And then it's also applying the effects name from the file name. So basically it's just taking what's in between. It's not taking the category ID. It's not taking the user ID or the project source, here at the end. It's just taking the actual name of the file and applying it to the effects name here. So, right, so just with that, I've already applied 4 different metadata to 4 different categories, which is great. All right, so next on my list here, I have here, this is a whole bunch of different actions, but let me walk you through what I'm filling and what it is. So here I have my library name. So this is going to fill out the library here. And for this particular project, it's called Clothing Foley 1. But that's what I'm naming it, so we'll leave it at that. Next, you have your manufacturer. This is like your company. It's basically who made it, right? So if you're just a one person name, I'm pretty sure you can just put your name here. But for me, I could either put something like DDA, or I could also put just the full name of the company. So usually that's what I do here, just David Dumais Audio. And then after that, your URL here. So here I have my store URL so that people can go and get my sound packs from my store if they ever want to. So every time that they see the file here, there's a URL category here. Basically, that my store URL is going to be filed there. So if ever anybody opens it up inside of Soundminer, inside of Reaper, inside of Soundly, they can see that URL. If they want to get more sounds from my store, they can just grab that URL, put it into their browser, and go. So I always like to include my URL. All right. Next is set field. This is when the recording was made, or the designs were made. Here, I'm just going to put 2025. I'm going to put today's date right now, which is May, I think we're 23rd today. And then finally, the designer is David. So again, I'm just going to make sure I'm on my proper project here, grab all the files. And now with all these filled out here, I can just hit run, and it should fill those out automatically here. All right, so now you can see I have my manufacturer, URL is all put in, clothing, everything's there. So that's perfect. So next, what I'm going to do here, I do I do an 8-digit code. So this basically assigns a unique code to each sound effect, so that if for some reason somebody else has the exact same name of sound effect in their library, but from another developer, let's say. So let's say somebody else has a flapping denim jeans _DDA _CF1. I mean, it wouldn't make sense, but let's say they did for some reason that you weren't using the UCS category. So what this unique ID is going to do is going to create a 8-digit unique code that's going to be assigned to those sound effects, so that even if somebody else's file name is the same, they can reference that unique code and know that they're two different sound effects. So I'm just going to run that. That's just a nice thing to add in there. And that unique code, let's see if I can find it here, is right here under short ID. So you can see they all have a unique code that's all different. Okay, next there's a few fields I sometimes like to field. One would be like the vendor category. So for vendor category here, I'll normally just set the field here. You can go to down here, vendor category. And this is basically the category that you want to categorize your own libraries in. So this is a very general kind of broad category. So this might be like a combat or even melee combat could go in here. So for me, I'm just going to do combat for now. I'll run it there. So now it's going to fill that category, vendor category. So these are all combat sounds, just so people know. I mean, it could also be Foley. There's different things you could put. So it just depends on what you want to put it in. So I'm putting mine under combat Foley for now. I think that works. All right, great. So now these are mostly pretty much all the sounds that I normally like to do. I don't normally do more metadata than that. What is left though is our description and our keywords. So let's do that next. All right, so let's go over how I do the descriptions and keywords for my sound effects here. So what I like to do is I like to go to soundeffect.com. They have an article here by Kai Paquin, and he has a great article just outlining all the UCS compliant fields and how he likes to organize them. And I think it's very detailed, and it's also what is on the UCS website. So if you go on the UCS website and you look through their information, this article is on there. I just go here just because I'm used to going here. But on here, it basically outlines how to create different descriptions, how to create, for example, your file names, how you to create your folder structures, track titles, effects name. Everything is basically here. So if you're ever curious about how to or what to put in what field, you can do that here, or you can just ask ChatGPT and it'll also tell you. That's another thing that I do as well. So I'm just going to go here, description, and most of the time for the description, you're going to use a single source sound effect. So I'm just going to grab and copy this. There are other options, like if you're doing ambient sound effects, it might be a little bit different, or vehicle driving, vehicle specific, synth. But that's basically it. So generally, most of the time, you're going to be using this single source sound effect. So I'm just going to copy that. And here in ChatGPT, I like to say, like, write me a UCS compliant description for the sound effects. I haven't put the sound effects yet, but I'm going to say, please reference this article. So it's going to reference this article for the formatting. Now I just got to tell it what the sound effect is. So I'm going to go back into my Soundminer session. All right, and I'm going to start at the top here. And what I like to do here is I'm just going to grab the file name here so that I can put it in. So I'm going to put the file name here. And then what I personally like to do is I like to describe it a little bit, because if not, it's just going to describe it based off what the file name is. And sometimes it's not quite adequate, and you just want more descriptive words than that. So I'm just going to listen to it here. Right, and then when I go back, I'm just going to say what it is. All right, so now I'm just going to enter that in there. And then it should be able to spit out a description for me here. Now, I missed one thing here, which is that I normally ask for like 3 different ones, because I like to be able to take, to see 3 different ones that I might have, and then be able to take either the best one or different parts of each one. So I'm going to do that right now. So this one's not too bad here. So I think I'm just going to take that one. I'm going to go back in here. Now, personally, I like to use the workflows here, and I'm just going to go back up here, go to description. Now I can just paste it in here, and I can just run it. And there you go. So now I got my description done here. It's not quite accurate. I don't want the 0-1 here, because this is the microphone perspective. I asked it to change that, but it didn't. All right, so that's how I do my descriptions. Now I'll go through all of these sounds, do the exact same thing, and yeah, and then I just copy and paste it in there, and that's how it's done. After that, it's just a matter of keywords. And for keywords, I generally do them by category. So because this entire sound pack is within the same category, it's all the same kind of sounds, I'm going to just do the exact same thing here. I'm going to go back at the top here. I'm going to grab my keywords, grab it here like this, copy, and we'll do the same thing here. All right, so just give me a whole list of here. So I might just grab all of these here and put it in, and then I'll just remove the ones that I don't want or that I don't feel like they match. So I'm just going to grab everything here. Going to go here, keywords, and just put it in there. So another thing that I missed here for my description, or for the keyword, sorry, is that I don't want to copy the same words that are already in the description or in the file name. I want new words, whether it's synonyms or whatnot. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to do that again for me, because I don't want the same words, because then we're just repeating ourselves. It doesn't really help people find the proper sound. So I'm going to redo what we have here. All right, so there you go. Because all these words match with all the sounds in this library, I don't have to do different ones for every single file like I would for the description. All right, last but not least, one of the things that I like to put on my sound files here is having a little artwork to go with the sounds that I have. So usually for most of my sounds, I release them as part of a sound pack or a collection of sounds. And with that, I usually include some sort of artwork so that it's a visual clue for whoever's using it to be able to see exactly where this sound belongs and where they got it. And yeah, so to do that, pretty simple. So inside of Soundminer itself, you can just load something like the artwork here. So here I have artwork. Let me show you here. So this is for clothing foley here. So in Soundminer, if I'm not mistaken, it should be 500 by 500. And all you do here is I'm going to go to my collection here, which is going to be clothing foley 1. I'm going to select all my sounds here like this. I'm going to go back to that folder, and you just drag and drop it on there, and that should embed that onto all the sound files. Now, all of mine already have that on there, as you can see, but if you were doing it from scratch, that's how you would do it, and then it would automatically be there. Okay, now the last thing that I do before being complete and done with this is that you have to embed all of this metadata into your sound files. If you don't, what happens is that all this metadata here is just saved inside of a Soundminer on your personal computer. It's not actually part of the audio file, right? So it's just part of Soundminer, not the audio file itself. But if you want to change that and you want to make sure that all of this metadata, all this work that you've done, it is actually part of the sound file itself, so that if you ever share it or sell it, or you share it with somebody else, they can see all that metadata that you see, then make sure you embed it. So I'm going to select all of them, right click here, and then you can select embed selected here. It's going to go and start embedding everything, obviously depending on how big or small your sound files and the library is, and the artwork that you put in. It might take a bit of time, but with that, once it's done, it'll be all embedded and ready to go, and that's basically, you're done. All right, thanks so much for watching. I hope you found that useful and valuable, seeing my process from beginning to end. If you want to see another video where I show you how I organize my sound files, I actually even show you my folder structure on my computer. And also, if you want to see just how I used to do it compared to how I do it now, just so you maybe can take some of both, or if you don't use Soundminer and you're looking for another way to do it, you can check that video out. I'll have it on the screen here if you're interested. All right, if you have any comments, questions, leave it below as usual. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.